Shimon Williams, Side D, Deuce Dog, Summer 96, University of North Carolina. Well, it's most definitely it's been interesting for sure, and you have to give your hats off to the first responders, and very thankful for the people that are helping us throughout this pandemic. My situation is a lot different than the others, being away from basketball, uh, but where it's different is when you're interacting with kids every day, and you're spending that time with them, you're teaching them, and you're mentoring them, and now being able to step away from it and not having those kids there, and they're not having you and having that influence. You see how dependent people are of information, just as we're dependent of information with the COVID. You're relying on people to carry you throughout the day and give you the information that's pertinent to help you through those things. So, for me, myself, it's extremely interesting, having to understand what this is all about. The perspective has always been there, but having my wife go through cancer this past year and knowing what COVID-19 could possibly do to those that have weakened immune systems, it most definitely has me more aware of my surroundings and what's going on in everybody's environment. So, I'm not predicated to just the athletic environment, more predicated to the social environment, which makes an impact on not just the kids, but my immediate family as well. Yeah. I
Absolutely.
would I would also say when you say you divulge into recruiting and the types of individuals you're looking at, for myself in the past, uh, when you're looking at a lot of kids with talent, you have to go beyond it. And a lot of things. One thing that really stood out to me in recruiting that I tried to watch when I watched the kid was, were they actually competing or were they performing? Because some kids are so talented that they can get out there and perform, but actually, were they actually competing against an individual? And did the small things mean anything to them? When I say small things, when someone scored on them, did it really mean anything to them, or did they just take off running down the court? Those small things let you know that they're really in tune into the game, and they appreciate each and every possession that they have to play. And for me, not being a highly recruited individual, I've always kind of divulged in those guys that were underdogs and tried to, you know, find the things that make them tick, find the hunger within, the laurels that they have and the morals that they had to continue pushing them beyond that environment, because you're going to face some kind of athletic adversity in college, one way or the other. You're going to face that. And so when they're facing those things, can they pull from the things from within? Not being respected, not being one of the best players, having to work harder than the next individual to obtain those goals and receive that scholarship. Those are the type of individuals that resonate with me, and probably resonate with a lot of us, because we've had to go through some things to obtain the things that we have today. And so when you get beyond the talent, you start looking at that appreciation for each and every possession, or the appreciation of somebody even considering you to be a great basketball player. And when you find those individuals, the one thing that that you'll get is somebody that'll most definitely give you 110% and run through any wall for you. Well, I would say with the recruiting process, I've always taken the approach of saying, hey, families have their way of how they want their process to go. And on being on the staff, we have a way that we want our process to go. And so the way that you would like for us to respect your process, I want you to reciprocate that to us as well. And so, in recruiting, I've never taken the approach of worrying about how they want their process to work out. My job is to do what I feel like is needed for our staff to succeed. And so a lot of times you're going to find different things that happen and evolve in that process. But the one thing that you can't allow yourself is to get entrenched or wrapped in why, they want me to offer them first, or they're not offering, or we're going to offer them first. We got to do what's best for our staff. And I think a lot of times we get so entrenched in well, they want it this way or they want it that way. When, hey, you know what? I respect the way that you do the things, the way you do your things, and respect the way that we do our things. And if it ends up being that you choose us, then great. But believe it, we're going to continue recruiting, and we're still going to go out there and get great players, regardless if you like our process or not. about parents giving them children to individuals and allowing them to be taught. The first thing is, the problem is, it's not you, Dennis, and it's not the majority of the men on this call. It's the other imposters, because everybody doesn't have those kids' best interest in hand. So most parents are used to dealing with people that aren't going to be those men that's going to further their children, not only on the court, but off the court as well. So you're an anomaly. You know what I mean? So most parents have to be critical of the people that they're sending their children to, because they put 15 years into 13 years into that kid becoming who they are to that day. And so I put all this, and I've invested all this into this child. Now I'm sending to someone that doesn't have their best interest at heart. That's not you. But unfortunately, you're going to be put into that box because you're a head coach.
Right.
And so a lot of times we have to take on the approach of being able to teach the families as well, because if they don't know, who's going to teach them? And for you, and for Frank, and for Stack, and for the other head coaches, for a lot of our kids, their parents have to be taught, because you don't have those individuals that actually care. You don't have the Dean Smith in it anymore. You don't have those guys that care about the individuals beyond basketball. They care about them, how many games they can help them win.
No question.
And then they move on beyond that. So it's a lot of responsibility placed upon our shoulders because of our own morals and what we stand for as men. And so that when you find those type of men, then it allows you to go back to what Frank said before. I can be selfless when I go to North Carolina, because I can see that he cares about everybody on this. If you didn't know who Jerry Stackhouse was or Rasheed Wallace in practice, you couldn't tell, because he was going to coach everybody the same way. And so with that, I understood, hey, you know what? There will be a chance once my opportunity comes. So I can give myself up to that individual because I can trust him. Right. And so you have so many individuals that don't carry the same morals as we have. And so it makes you fight against that each and every time you recruit and the kids you bring in their families. Yeah. Basketball is a means to an end. And that's the one thing that the kids have to understand. And I always try to reiterate that to them. Like, look, basketball is going to end one day. I mean, look at Coach Williams, not playing basketball anymore. So believe it or not, some careers, if you're blessed, going to be longer than others. But it's going to end one day. This is an avenue for you to be successful in more than just being an athlete. Like you said, John, I try to reiterate to the kids that you're businessmen. Let's get this athlete component out of the way and help you understand that you're a businessman, and this is just part of your business. And you have to continue on with life and allow basketball to be part of the business, not the business. Yes. And so trying to get them to understand that this is just an avenue to help you, facilitate life and put you in a position that you probably wouldn't have been in that position if you weren't capable of playing the game of basketball. But understand that you're going to have to put the basketball up one day as an athlete and continue on being the individual that you are. And so, that's important that we get that reiterated to them each and every time we talk to them. You're not an athlete, you're a businessman. And this is just a component. It's not you, it's part of who you are. And so when we do that, we end up with better student athletes. And a lot of times we end up with Omegas.
Brother Williams, I'm gonna steal that.
Yeah.
Listen,
that was really
basketball
good.
is just part of your business. Okay.
Part of your business.
Yeah, I could take that to class.
Anybody.
I'll speak on it because a lot of those guys are head coaches. I think what I'm amazed at more than anything else is when you look at the makeup of most teams. The majority of those teams are probably 85% to 87% African American, and you have someone of a different ethnicity teaching these kids, or quote unquote the leader of these kids. And so for me, it's always been something I've thought about. Why was this, and why would someone think that to get beyond just the racial part of it, but what would make people think that the only people that are more capable of leading these kids are something or someone of a different ethnicity? And I think it's been something that's, you know, that's been an issue in not just college basketball, but all sports. And I think it just comes from most people that are in those positions. They don't have an avenue to get to an opportunity to find out who these individuals are. When I say these individuals, I'm talking about African Americans. I mean, when you look at our relationships, majority of our relationships are with those that are African American. So if we're looking for someone of another ethnicity to do something for us, then we probably have to rely on somebody that we know that knows that person. And so we've not been able to have an opportunity to get beyond those lines for people to get to identify who we are as individuals. And I think the platforms that are beginning to become, you know, this platform, if they're watching, and the other platforms, gives people in those decision-making positions an opportunity to get to know us beyond just, being African-American coaches. There's much more substance to us than just basketball. I would say, the things that I live by, my principles, God first. I always kept God first. Keep God first, because you never know what he has in store for you. A lot of times the road may be bleak and you may be looking at another person's status or situation, but understand what the Lord has prepared for you is for you. And you can't allow your mindset to keep you from getting there. Always be respectful and humble. Respect goes a long way. To have respect, to get respect, you must give it. And understand, hey, you know what? Regardless of what position you're in, no matter what people, celebrate you for, those things are what make you special. What makes you special is how you treat people, the type of person you are, trying to do something for others. That's what makes you successful. Third thing would be yourself. A lot of times you get off track looking at somebody else's situation and wondering why your situation isn't theirs. You can look around and you watch the Jerry Stackhouse and the Rasheed Wallace walk off the bus at the end of the Final Four and tell you better go to class, and you say, well, where are they going? They're going to the NBA. And a lot of times you may want to do the same things, but that may not be your time. So you have to weather the storm. You have to continue being focused and being the person that you're going to be. And hopefully one day, if the opportunity presents itself, then you can capitalize on it. But understand, if you do make it, if you don't make it, that doesn't make you any less of an individual or less of a person. Everybody's not going to play Division I basketball. But if you're blessed enough to get a scholarship to go to college, you should appreciate that and give it 110% and be thankful. And last and least, always go back and give back to those that are in need. Just like the people that are given to you to this day, you make sure you go back and reciprocate that to them. So, you can help further the cycle. You can set that standard for it continues to go in your community. And that's about it.